when you come into this space, you need to understand the importance of giving value. There's a lot of ego around, what if I share like my best tips and tricks and, people steal them and take them? Like you think about it. How much value have I given away in this podcast? I've found the more value I provide, the more people trust me, the more people that actually want to sign on with me. Hello and welcome back to another episode on the Beauty Industry Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Kennedy. In today's episode, I want to specifically speak to the people who are either looking to get into or currently are in the education, training, coaching, or consulting space. I wanted to share a bit more about my journey of how I've built my business, the different types of structures and models I've trialed and tested, and then what that backend system setup looks like in order for the business to thrive. So to give you a bit more context, I started my journey almost 3 years ago. I started off with an online course, which was hosted in Kajabi. That was teaching beauty business owners how to set up their business and get clients, essentially. It kind of covered a lot around your policies and procedures, what things you needed to register, how to set up custom domains so you've got your own private email, being able to market your services, what to post on Instagram. It was quite basic. And at that stage, it was really targeted towards the beginner. And then as I realized I wanted to actually work with people, not just sell online courses, because I loved that human interaction and connection. I then went and did my NLP practitioner and master's certifications. I joined a coaching mastermind where they teach you how to become a coach. Then they teach you how to run a coaching business. And that's when everything started to change for me. I started learning about offers. I started learning about Facebook groups. I started learning about landing pages. I started learning about sales calls and handling objections. And none of these terms were familiar or relatable for me when I compared it to what I was doing when I was running my beauty business. Then after I had all my coaching side of things kind of down packed, I then moved into the space of running a 6-month mastermind. So that had kind of a hybrid model between 3 one-on-one calls within the 6 months and then weekly group coaching calls and then an online platform where you got self-paced modules. And then on top of that, I then went on to host a couple of events. So these were CEO days where I'd book out a boardroom with some of my higher level clients and we would work through strategy together and do some networking and co-working. I've also done 12-week courses, which is where I started Salon Marketing Foundations, which then I realized people wanted to learn how to get fully booked, not just the marketing side. So that then led me into my 8-day program, which was the Fully Booked Formula. Now, the way I ran that the first time was I did Monday, Wednesday, Friday across 2 weeks. And then the third week was Monday, Wednesday. So that's how we got the 8 days. And then as time went on, I tried some different ways. Like I did it 3 first days of the week. And it was just like so much information and a lot of energy needed. And I would burn out as soon as I'd finish hosting the training. Like it was a lot. So I did do the 8-day spread out. Then I did it 8 days in a row kind of vibe. And then on top of that, I then moved into doing one-on-one coaching and consulting rather than having it in a mastermind, just doing that on its own. And now it's just evolved to where I'm at with having a membership model. Now, I used to feel a little bit embarrassed or ashamed to admit this, but I've tried a lot of different things and, maybe I didn't try them long enough to see if they actually worked. But I think the main reason why I chopped and changed is because I didn't know how my energy levels would respond to that type of business model until I actually did it. So for me, I could not think of anything worse than now having a 6 or 12-month program where I've got to show up for weekly group coaching calls. That for me is a fast track to burnout and resenting my business. I know that I get the most fulfillment out of doing once a month live masterclass with upskilling, a worksheet that goes with it, Q&A, and then that gives my students a whole month to go and implement it. So they don't feel the pressure as well that they have to always give up an hour of their week to show up to these calls. They may or may not get some value out of it. They don't have enough time to go implement in between. So over time, that's what I found worked best for me. The other thing was I was doing weekly one-on-one coaching calls, and that was just so much. Like, yes, you have some clients that you're really happy to see every single week, but other times it's like you're just seeing each other for the sake of seeing each other. They haven't had time to go implement. You're kind of having the same conversations because they haven't yet been able to action the advice. And so it's like not wasting everyone's time, but it's not the best use of both your time, energy, and money. Now, what I actually found for me was offering consulting packages has been a massive hit because people have been able to buy a certain amount of hours to work with me, and then they can use them as I have availability in my calendar. This works really well with my traveling. This works really well with my clients, not feeling that pressure that they have to have everything done within a certain period of time. They can use them as they actually need them. And I've developed really strong relationships with them in between the sessions. So that's kind of all the different things I've trialed and tested in a nutshell. The only thing, like I said, I haven't done is retreats. So retreats is something that I would like to do. However, I'm just not in the position where I want to put that much risk or pressure on myself yet. So let's dive deeper into what it actually looks like when you're setting up the back end of these businesses. There's a lot of terminology that may or may not sound familiar to you if you've never really dived deep into marketing when it comes to the strategy, the concepts, the frameworks, the website pages. Like for me, when I first heard about all this stuff, I was like, what am I hearing? So I'm going to try to break it down in the most simple form possible that's easy for you to follow. So first off, if we have a business and you need to get clients, we've got to peel it all the way back and look at, okay, well, where are we getting traffic? How do we get eyeballs onto your business, your brand, your offer? Like, where do these people come from? And this is something that, when I first started out, I struggled with because I only had like 300 followers. I now have 4,300 followers, but back then I didn't have the audience size. So I had to think about where am I getting traffic from? Because if I don't have traffic, I don't have audience, I don't have anyone to sell to. So what traffic does is that gives you the brand visibility. It helps you generate leads. It allows you to engage with potential customers and ultimately boost your sales. So there's different types of traffic. You've got SEO, you've got content marketing, you've got your social media, you've got affiliate marketing, sponsors, paid ads, podcasts, PR. There's a whole bunch. And so what you need to do is get clear on what traffic levers are you going to leverage to get more eyeballs on your brand. Now, the second step is to offer that audience, that target market or ideal client you're trying to attract, a piece of value. So if you give them a piece of value for free in exchange for their contact information, typically their name and email address, that will get them into your database, so your email marketing system. Now, need I remind you that your followers, the people that like your page on Facebook, like, you don't own any of that. If your account gets taken down, you don't have access to any of that. So this is why it's really important for you to actually get into building lead magnets, getting more leads and people on your email database, because that is the only asset that you actually own. So you've got to think about Facebook and Instagram and TikTok or whatever other platforms you use. It's like you're renting that audience, but your emails, your website, all of that, that's your own content. So it's important that you don't just build up social media. You actually got to build up your own database. So what could a lead magnet look like? It could be a checklist, a cheat sheet, a guide, webinar, workshop, quiz, masterclass, report, statistics, blueprint, mini course, tutorial, anything like that. You want to give them free value to help them move closer towards their desired goal. So usually I'll go into Canva, I'll think about a problem that my target market is really struggling with. I will create a resource like a guide or something and solve their problem in it. And then it'll have next steps or something like that if they want more information. Super simple. You can put it together yourself. Think of it like anything you see on Facebook ads when you're like, oh, that looks really cool. I want to download that. That's what a lead magnet is. The next step is the landing page. So you've obviously got this lead magnet, but you need a way for people to actually be able to download it or get their own copy. So the objective of a landing page is to get people who are interested in what it is you have to offer to fill out a form, give you their name and email address, and then click submit. So then their information goes into your database. And in exchange, you send them a resource. So what you need to do is usually in your website, you can set up a landing page, which is a page separate from the main ones on your website. So think of it as it's like own unique page. It's not linked to anything. You can't see the main headers and stuff on your website. It's just its own thing. And then that will have copy. If you don't know what copy is, when I say copy, I just mean like writing on it, copywriting. And that will essentially sell them into wanting to download your lead magnet. Now, on the back end of the lead magnet, when someone puts in their information, they then hit submit. This should then trigger an automation in the back end, which then sends out a series of welcome emails. So I like to have 6 emails in my welcome email sequence. Usually I'm giving them the freebie. I'm then maybe linking them to another value add, which might be a podcast episode or another resource or a video training or something. And then I'm sharing a story about who I am, making myself relatable, introducing who I am, adding more value, talking a bit about what I do, how I help. And then I might have another email about offering them something like booking in a free consultation call or, giving them a free audit or something like that. And then the last one is a 9-word email. So that's worked really well for me in the past. However, as your brand and business evolves, like your email sequences, your strategy, it's worth trialing and testing different things because, people are different. Some people like long form copy. They like really reading and understanding who you are. Some people don't have time. They just want to read something short. So being able to like split test 2 different variations of your welcome sequence will be really interesting to see which one performs better and then just go with the one that performs better. Now, off the back end of your welcome emails, then you might choose to have another automation, which is your sales emails. And so this is talking about what it is you do, what you offer, what are the benefits of it, how does it help your ideal client, sharing some social proof, you're building authority, you're creating credibility, you're showing them how much value you have in the thing you're offering, overcoming their objections of why they might not buy it or why they think it's not going to work or it costs too much. And then you're creating some level of incentive and scarcity so that they do want to buy it. Now, when you're selling this thing in the sales emails, you're going to want a call to action button, which is then going to link them to a sales page. Now, the sales page is the kind of same concept as your landing page. It's a separate page off the website, which is talking about what it is you're selling, what the benefits are, what's included, more social proof, and then you've got your checkout. So that's going to be where they put in their information, their card details, and they can actually purchase. And then on the back end of that, when someone purchases, you've also got to consider what is the next steps from there? Is there an onboarding kind of process? So what emails then get sent to them? Is there information where they've got a guide or a video they need to watch? Or do you have a link where they need to book in a call? So as you can see, as I'm explaining all of this, there's a really big flow on that you need to keep the ball rolling. And if you don't have all of these things set up, people will get stuck and then they just won't know what the next thing to do is, so they won't take action. So then you've got to think about your onboarding process. Like, how do people start working with you? Do they need to fill out a certain form? Do they need to set up a certain payment thing, or do they need to fill in a contract? Like, every type of business is going to be different in what they require, but that's also important for you to have set up. So if you need to buy a contract, see a lawyer, get a contract written up, then you might need to do that. You need to think about how you take payments. So do you manually send invoices out? Do you have it automated in Xero? Do you use Stripe? Do you use Samcart or a certain payment processing platform? Then on the back end of that, you've got your client journey. So they've onboarded, they've got started working with you, or they know their training's coming up or whatever it is. You've now got to map out what their journey is going to be like working with you. So how do you support them? What are the initial touch points? What do you do to keep them engaged? How often do you check in with them? When do you ask for feedback? When do you get testimonials off them? When do you give them an extra freebie or value add or something like that? How are you creating an incredible client journey? Because that is the key to retaining your clients, is setting up that journey so that they feel valued, they feel ecstatic and blown away by how incredible you are, and they want to keep referring people to you and continue working with you in the long term. Then after that, you want to think about how you're going to maximize your margins. So with the clients you currently have, the clients you've had in the past, your favorite fans, people who didn't end up signing up with you, having a system in place where you're able to reoffer, get referrals, get people to recommit, upgrade people or reactivate. This is going to allow you to pull more profit in your business and essentially maximize your margins. So that is a short, condensed overview of the flow of the beauty industry leaders sales funnel that I teach people that are really wanting to step into that coaching, consulting, education, or training space, because you're probably incredible at what you do. You're able to deliver the actual training. You have all the resources ready. You're good at coaching or consulting. You know how to work with clients, but you're not actually sure how to continue getting clients. And so you've got to consider, what does your backend setup look like? And this is what I have found has worked the best for me. I've invested 130 grand. Seriously, no coach or program laid it out sequentially like this for me. And that's what created that gap in the market where I was like, I have the opportunity to actually create this step-by-step process so people know what they need. And I've even condensed things down. Like, if you don't have the time and energy to create a sales page, you can create a sales deck, which is what I have successfully used and sold over $50,000 worth of consulting in 2025 alone with. That has actually allowed me to go, cool, this is a PDF. It has all the information about how I roll, what I'm about, what my offerings are. And because it's laid out so well, and it also speaks to all who it's for, what it solves, how it helps, what you're going to achieve, what you can expect, social proof, like with all that information in one piece and it looking like it's at a high level, it's not just some cheap Microsoft Word document that got thrown together last minute. It is a really high-end consulting or training or education like guide that is going to help you stand out as an industry leader. That's going to make people trust you more. And also, everyone's hiding their prices. They don't want other people to see their prices. They're scared. I put my prices out there because I'm like, it filters out the people who want to work with me versus who doesn't. It filters out the people who actually are serious about wanting to commit versus those who are just shopping around for cheap prices, and it will work the same for you too. So let's now talk about what are some of the things that you don't really get told before you decide to get into this space. So first off, being in this space requires you to spend a lot of time working on the business. So in beauty, you've got clients and, you're providing services, you're selling products. And then, if you're making it to that higher level, you're training up team, you're like spending a lot of time in the salon. Now, with an online business, you're usually spending a lot of time on your laptop, and that's either recording content, uploading content, sending back emails, actually being on the calls, then doing reviews, uploading things, so then the clients get them. Like there's a lot of that stuff in the back end, which can be very time consuming. And then anytime you want to launch something new, whether it's a lead magnet, whether it's an offer, you've actually got to create a whole new landing and sales page, or you can duplicate it and change out the copy. And that can be incredibly time consuming if you don't know how to do it effectively. And it takes time to build up that skill. For me, building a landing page, I'm not as great with making it look pretty. However, I'm good at copywriting. So if I can write out all my copy and then hand that to my team, who then put everything into Go High Level, it makes my life a lot easier. But in the early stages, I was doing everything manually. And so this leads me into my next thing. When you want to launch something, you actually have to plan relatively far ahead, because it can take you time to set up emails. It can take you time to set up landing pages and sales pages. It's not like I've got this one thing, I want to launch it tomorrow, because you've got to check that everything works and there's this nice big flow. And if it doesn't, you send out the wrong email, someone gets upset, then you've got to go back, fix it up. It takes time. And so your launch plan projections, they need to be realistic. When I first went to launch my very first course, I had someone who was building out everything for me in terms of the setup, the sales pages, landing. I didn't even know what any of those words meant. I was like, cool. Because I'd paid for someone to do it for me, I think I picked it up a lot faster because I had it perfectly structured, and then I could just change out everything I wanted. However, when it came to actually building things from scratch, that's where it took me time to really develop the skill and understand how everything flows. Now, looking back now, would have I invested in someone to build a course? Back in the day, it was like $4,500. I think now she charges $10,000. Probably not. And the reason being is I think it's important for you to actually understand the platform that you're using and how things work. I would invest in someone showing you how to do it, watching some YouTube videos, understanding what landing pages are, sales pages are, understanding how to set up workflows and automations. That's something I wish I learned earlier. I did a lot of it manually. So sending out emails, the exact same email over and over again and just changing the name manually, that takes time. But you can set that up in an automation where if they click this link or this gets submitted, then it will turn into this. And it makes everything so much easier. So your launch timelines, you need to make sure that you're planning well ahead. And then on top of that, when you're trying to get leads in, there's a few different ways you can do it. You could do it from podcasting. You could do it from your stories. You could go into Facebook groups. You can run Facebook ads. There's honestly so many different ways that you can collect leads. However, you've got to spend time doing that, because if you don't have leads, then it's hard to find people to sell to. And so sometimes you're sitting there posting a lot of educational content going, why is no one signing up with me? But it's because you're not posting lead generation content and clearly showcasing what it is you do, how people can work with you, and encouraging them to take that next step. So I jumped straight into coaching, and it wasn't bringing in the income I wanted because I didn't have an idea of what I was doing, So I was doing modeling in the background. I was doing social media marketing. I was putting protective film on luxury watches. And that's how I paid off all of my programs and coaches that I invested in. I didn't have the money up front. I'm telling you right now, I believed in myself and I found a way to make it work. And I think that's probably one thing that I would attribute to my success is how much I've actually invested in learning the different parts of the business. And I know, everyone says master of one, and I think that's true to an extent, but when you're running an online business, it's actually important that you're across the different areas in business. So what I mean by this is if you don't understand how marketing works and what is considered good versus bad marketing at the bare minimum, you're opening yourself up to getting ripped off by social media marketing agencies because you're not able to actually dissect that information, the stats, the posts, the content, and go, is this working or is it not? And people fall victim to that. They're like, oh, I don't have any clients, no money's coming in. They then go to an agency, they're charging, $2,000 to $5,000 a month, and then they're giving every last dollar they can to the agency and still not seeing anything out of it. And then the agency tells you, you've got to work 3 to 6 months before you start seeing results. Like, I've heard it all before. That's not necessarily true because you've got to have the right strategy with your lead generation. And most of the time, these marketing agencies, they don't have a specific strategy that generates leads. It's a lot of nurturing content. Now, think about it. Someone sees, oh, I can create pretty things on Canva. I'm going to become a social media marketer. Does not necessarily mean they understand marketing strategy. So that's a trap that I see people fall into, and I want to warn you about so that you also don't fall victim to that. Now, with the coaching, you kind of need another form of revenue coming in to support you while you start. Otherwise, you're putting yourself in financial hardship or stress, wondering, okay, how am I going to get through? Unless you have already proven that you can generate, your income, your wage, or whatever it is you're currently pulling from other business or areas in life, that can be replaced. I think something that I did was burn out way too much because I was trying to hustle so hard to pay everything off. And I was in between coaching and doing 50 million other things. Whereas if I probably had a part-time job and I just knew I was working that one thing, I would have put way less stress on myself because I was essentially running like 3 businesses in one. Chopping and changing from this to that to this to that, you definitely lose your attention and focus. And if I would have just been running the coaching and then just been working a part-time job, not 3 part-time jobs essentially, I would have probably done a lot better, a lot faster. But you got to do what you got to do to get through. So, I don't regret it because I've learned a lot of skills and I've pushed myself outside of my comfort zone, which is translated into a lot of growth. However, once again, I wouldn't be jumping straight out of running one business and into another without having some form of consistent revenue and cash flow coming through the business. Otherwise, it will be very stressful. And I can say this wholeheartedly because when we closed down Wild West Bowling in October 2023, we went 13 months without any income. And it was incredibly detrimental to our mental health. And I don't think anyone deserves to go through that. So making sure that you have a level of security within your income before you decide to go all in is probably advice that I wish I was given earlier, but I just decided I'm going to make it sink or swim. However, you do become reactive because you've got to make decisions to get through. Another thing with coaching, training, education is don't offer what everyone else is offering. I think it's easy to look at other people and see them doing a 3-day training or a 5-day training and they include this kit and they do it this way and they structure their day. Like, don't do it the same as everyone else because you're just going to be compared to everyone else, which means you're only going to get paid the same amount. If you offer something uniquely different and valuable, that will give you the opportunity to have a premium price, which allows you to profit more. Now, I think it's important for you to provide tremendous value and not just jack your price up because you're like, I'm in the coaching, training, and consulting space. When I started, I didn't have social proof. I didn't have client testimonials. I worked for free with 20 clients and I took on their feedback. I got to trial and test my skills. And you know what? It allowed me to collect video testimonials. It allowed me to collect Google testimonials. And then I was able to leverage them to then get more clients to show that I was actually good at what I did. So to go out into the industry, unless you have previous experience, results, and testimonials, or you've achieved success to a level, you're going to have to spend some time working at a discounted rate of what you're seeing everyone who's more experienced and advanced charging until you build up your own social proof, credibility, and results you've been able to achieve with clients. I know it may feel a little bit frustrating and you have all this information and knowledge and you know you're worth more, but it's just like beauty, right? The first time you pick up these tools, the first time you do that treatment, there's no way that you can compare that price point to someone who's been in the industry for 5 to 10 years and has that experience and skill set that they've developed over time. So knowing that it's a long game and really focusing on how you can level up rather than just trying to jump into, I'm going to make quick money, because that's not how it works. And if you have that mindset, you get cancelled really quickly as well. You just got to know that it does take time. It doesn't have to take forever, but it does take time. And the more you invest in yourself and the more personal development, the more upskilling you do and the faster you take action, the easier it is to collapse that time and not have it take as long. It's essentially the same as a beauty salon, but so different at the same time. Like, same as in pricing, you can't price the exact same as everyone else because you don't know what their overheads are. You don't know what it costs them to run that event or all their softwares and platforms they use, or, do they pay for marketing? Do they have a podcast? Like, there's so many different expenses for each business to run, and people are going to value their time at a different amount. Some businesses will be registered for GST when they start and others won't. So your pricing needs to also be not just a copy or mimic of what everyone else is doing. Now, I think when you come into this space, you need to understand the importance of giving value. There's a lot of ego around, what if I share like my best tips and tricks and, people steal them and take them? Like, you think about it. How much value have I given away in this podcast? I would hope that you think I've given away a lot of value, and I feel like I have. And if I didn't, you wouldn't trust me. If I just told you how good I was and just had screenshots of testimonials and, kind of said I'm the best at everything, but never actually spoke about how I achieved those results or what I did and how I got there, it makes it a lot harder for people to trust you and want to buy from you. And so it can be scary putting yourself out there and sharing stuff about your strategies. However, I've found the more value I provide, the more people trust me, the more people that actually want to sign on with me. And sometimes I give the strategy away and people don't implement it. They actually want me to go there and hold their hand and help them. And that is the difference. Some people will save your post. Some people will scroll past it. Some people watch it and go, that's a really great idea, and then never do it. And so by you giving that value, you're going to find your people that actually want you to help them. And so don't hold back and be that person when someone asks for advice, you go, sign up to my program and I'll tell you in here. Don't be that person. It's not going to get someone to sign up with you. You need to genuinely have their best interests at heart. And if the whole reason why you got into this space was to help people, then it's your duty to help them. Now, that comes without saying. There's going to be limits to it. If they're, just trying to take a free ride and ask every single question and expect it all the time, then that's different. However, it's no skin off your back taking, 30 seconds to a minute out of your day to help someone else who might be in a position where they're at breaking point. They want you to help them, to guide them, to inspire them. And because you've taken that time to provide them with value or support them, they'll return it back to you tenfold. I think with this industry, coaching, I don't know if I like the word coach anymore, because it's just, some people have a bad rep, some people got a good rep. I do love to refer to myself as more a consultant now, because I think with a consultant, you are kind of all three in one. You are a mentor speaking from your previous experience. You are a coach guiding people to help them find their breakthrough by asking them questions and being able to support them and teaching them specific skills. Support them in teaching them specific skills. And then you're also a consultant, as in you're sometimes pulling them back and saying, hey, this is not working. This is what we need to do. And it's kind of a balancing act. You've got to find the time and place for each one. So when you're in that position, what you can find is like, what do I actually refer to myself as? How do I know I'm using the right term? And that can be tricky to navigate too, because what you might refer to yourself as, your ideal client doesn't call you that. So for me to type in consultant, I think a lot more people would be typing in business coach rather than consultant. So I've got to use the word coach so that I come up in SEO and people can associate that I can actually help them. And the last thing that I want you to walk away with is there is a toll that can come with it that is often not spoken about. And if you're in beauty, you will relate to this as well, but definitely more so if you're a trainer, educator, coach, consultant. People are coming to you with their problems all the time. And you've got to be emotionally resilient and able to take that weight on and not let it crumble you or not let it get the best of you. Because if you are a massive empath and you take on everyone's problems, you're going to get to the end of the day and just feel so drained. And that's when you've got to look at how many people am I seeing in a day or how often am I doing this, so you're not actually burning out, because that can be so toxic if you are always trying to put everyone else's needs above your own and then you start neglecting your own self-care and filling up your own cup. It can make you resent the job. Now, on the other side of it, like there is positives. You've got being able to have the freedom and flexibility to wake up when you want and to choose how you want to build your model and what hours you do want to work and run things, and going and sitting at cafes and shops and living as a digital nomad. But on the other side of that is sometimes you're so deep into a launch that you're missing out on important things. You're not spending time with your partner or your kids because you forgot to send out this email, or, you know, you're trying to create a reel last minute and have it posted up. And it can have that opposite effect of you're experiencing all this freedom, but at the same time, you can also feel quite trapped if you don't have the right systems and processes in place. And so you got to learn how to switch off. You've got to learn how to create that space and also set clear boundaries, but also look after your clients and make sure that, you know, you're there when you need them, but not 24/7. And I think all in all, it's such a privilege to be able to support people in their journey. And my advice to you is like, you need to be in it for the right reasons. Like anything, business, you know, sport, relationships, hobbies, like you got to be in it for the right reasons. It can't be from a place of scarcity or you have to prove yourself or this. Like, do it because you love it. Do it because you enjoy it. Do it because you're passionate about it and you're driven. Because if you feel those ways towards it, you're going to last in it for the long term. If you're doing it for a money grab, it's not going to work. I promise you that, because the money grab, people feel that energy. They know that you're not there to actually help them. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong in trying to step into this space. But I know if you're listening to this, that's not you. You are destined to step into that space because you want to create the impact. And I really commend you for doing that, because I think there's so much room for growth and value and leaders in this industry. Just people are scared to take that step and they're not sure how to go about doing it. So if you ever need help, I'm always a DM away. Send me a message at Sammy Kennedy Coach. We can always have a chat. I can share some tips and tricks, or if you'd like to work with me and understand how we can implement the beauty industry leaders sales funnel into your business, we can also do that too. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you for listening and supporting this podcast. And I hope you have an incredible week ahead, that you don't have any cancellations or no-shows, and you spend some time reading a book, listening to a podcast, going for a walk, going out in the sunshine. Do something for you this week. That is my advice. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
Audience exclusive.